Greetings, fellow men. Servus Männer. Red Pill Germany here. Today I want to talk about the current situation in Germany concerning men's rights, gender relations, and MGTOW lifestyle. So I'm trying to give you guys a little bit an idea about how German society works in these regards and where it stands. I mean, it is, aside from the popular cliches, it is probably fair to say that Germans, compared to other Westerners or Europeans, are very traditionalist, very little bit authoritarian leaning in their worldview. They love law and order in these things, and they're punctual, they're on time, yes. But of course, we have this similar laws to other Western countries, and human nature is what it is, so we should see the same phenomena. And I had a closer look at my country, and I try to give you an idea about it. So I do believe that our common human nature is what it is, shaped by the process of evolution and us being a sexually dimorphic species. I think, of course, women tend to be hypergamous, men tend to be competitive and try to accumulate resources to get the best females, and all this ensures, of course, that we produce quality offspring. I do believe on the other side, however, that when you take humans and put them in a different kind of environment, that they would then, of course, behave differently. Some behaviors would be encouraged, some others would be penalized and thus being suppressed. And I believe that the most effective way to influence people's behavior is not writing a law, but ostracism, shunning someone, socially enforced behavior. That is still the most effective way. So I think, of course, human nature is what it is. Social Marxism and feminism didn't jump out of the woodworks at some point and decided to destroy our perfectly happy life all of a sudden. No. I think it's a very good analogy that someone in the MGTOW community came up with, that human biology is the hardware of our system, that our cultures are the operating systems, and that our behavior or that our ideologies would then be pieces of software that we can run on these cultures. However, I also believe that it's fairly evident that if you take a human animal or a group of these and you put them in a certain environment, that they will behave according to their nature and their culture, of course, but they adapt to their environment. So first I want to go through the data real quick. I mean, I looked it up. It's easy to find that stuff on the internet. The German government has websites where they keep all these social data sets, census data, and you can look up the rate of marriage, like the number of marriages per 10,000 citizens in a certain area, and the number of divorces for 10,000 citizens. And you can even look it up by state, which is really important because Germany is a very diverse federal state. So Bavaria, which is more like the German equivalent of Texas maybe, will vary very greatly from a liberal city-state such as Hamburg or Bremen, which are probably at least, I mean, when you look at the people who live there, more closely related to New York and California. So the number that I looked at was the ratio of divorces per 10,000 inhabitants over the number of new marriages per 10,000 inhabitants. And one could see that in very traditional states such as Thuringia, Bavaria, Saxony, this rate or this ratio is only slightly under 40%, so 38-39%. And in the city states, it can be exceeding 50%. So there is a clear difference. So depending in what environment and what cultural group you are, you face different risks of divorce. So seeing that there are a lot of divorces going on around you, or being even brought up in a household that underwent a divorce, is not the only thing that can lead you to become a MGTOW or to become more aware of those dangers. The other thing is also the economic situation, of course. We know that a lot of relationships, a lot of marriages end because of a really bad economic situation. And in Germany, at least, the financial crisis and the following recession in the years 2007, 2008 was somehow dampened. We had something called short labor, where people worked less hours, but nobody got fired. So this is what we do. This is the general pattern of our behavior. In that way, we're very socialistic. So in this instance, at least, this strategy paid out really well, because due to the fact that our companies didn't have to fire their qualified staff, they could grow much faster when the global economy improved again in the following years. Another point worth mentioning is also that also in family and divorce law, we do not tend to go to these crazy extremes that I heard of. Of course, being behind in alimony and child support payments is a felony, and you can go to jail in Germany for that. It is not happening at such a high rate, and the courts tend to be a little more reasonable, even though I think it is outrageous that they can throw you to prison for that. But even in Germany, you can go to jail for that. But not many people know that. The other thing is that if your situation changes in Germany, your alimony or your child support payments get updated. So if you have to cut back hours and your salary is cut in half, your alimony goes down, of course, too. And the other thing is, there is a certain base level income that you can keep, that cannot be used for child support or alimony payments. So let's say you just make 1,500 euros a month. I mean, I never looked up these numbers, but I know that there is a basic net earning that you get that from your work that cannot be used for your ex-wife or for your kids or something. You really need that for living. You need to pay rent and all that stuff. And the courts, even though they take your last shirt, I mean, so to speak, they're really ruthless also here. But at least they have to keep these minimum norms. They cannot take everything from you. They need to you need to have a car. You're entitled to keep your TV. Yeah, they cannot take that away. Once again, I think we're not that extreme. We're not that crazy, that frivolous, one could almost say. So we see that nicely in the data. While women still file for the majority of the divorces, the rate is not nearly as extremely skewed into women's favor than maybe in other parts of the world. So overall, women file for 58% of the divorces, and in the later years of a marriage, that becomes almost 50%. So when the total rate of divorce in the 7th year or 6th or 7th year around that time, and when the general rate is the highest, also actually the asymmetry is the highest. But later on, surprise, when the woman loses her beauty, then men actually file much more often for divorce than in earlier years. So as the German economy is still booming, even though Volkswagen had this recent scandal, but we don't really notice anything at the factory floor at the moment. So I think all these factors taken together result in a situation in Germany where married men are still the classic plow horses. Yeah, they're still the walking ADMs, but they walk into the meat grinder, but it's kind of a less horrible meat grinder. It's a meat grinder with minimal moral standards, so to speak. So this is very interesting, I think, because the biggest enemy for the communists back then were the social democrats, and the reason the communists had for the hatred of social democrats was that the communists, they wanted the revolution of the proletarians to come very soon. They wanted the worker to be angry and miserable and rioting. But the social democrats, with all their stupid little welfare programs and softening all these or bettering all these um, working conditions and doctoring around with the symptoms, that eased the situation for the workers. That was a benefit to the workers, and that took away their aggression and their suffering a bit. And the communists wanted the worker to suffer. He wanted him to be angry. And I think this is the thing in Germany. Instead of going crazy and throwing great part of the population in jail for child support payments, we make our cattle, so to speak, our plow horses, we make them feel more comfortable. We treat our livestock well, and then they don't hang themselves. So Germany is adopting this middle path here. Totally blue pill, totally gynocentric. I can tell you stories about married colleagues of mine. They're like beaten dogs. They're not happy. But the art of statecraft, if you will, is to just keep them like happy enough, or that they have a shred of hope that they don't riot or go MGTOW or go Gold or whatever. So this is what we do very well in Germany, and I'm sure that our higher-ups know about this. But I also wonder how this will change with the current immigration situation, where people really get angry at the moment. And maybe they have overplayed their hand. Maybe our leaders thought, oh, the German plow horse can take it. We can put some more burden on him. Oh yeah, he can lift that too. Yeah, that is okay. We gave him all these payments for green energy and for the welfare program for the single mothers and all this crap. And now we adopt 1 million refugees. And yeah, that taxpayer can do it. But I'm not so sure. It could very well be that out of this scenario, out of this regime where we're operating at the moment, where the plow horse is not happy, he is frustrated but not explosively angry, and maybe now this migrant crisis is just the quote-unquote straw. I don't think it's a straw, but the straw that breaks the camel's back. And I think it's more a tree trunk than a straw, but it could break the camel's back. And maybe the future in our country will be much more dynamic, much more politically, a lot more will change, and maybe we will see some actual riots, some actual civil unrest maybe. But that's maybe something for another video. So to sum up, in Germany, we have more production jobs, we have a better economy, we have more traditional, classic blue pill values, and I should go in more detail maybe. But this is maybe just an overview, introduction kind of video. So we are much more authoritarian. We think that our duty as a citizen is to obey and carry the load like a real man, like a hero, this is our thing. So just like in the Third Reich, when we were fighting until the end, even though it was complete bullshit, now we think our duty is defined by paying taxes and paying for our wives and children and not having any fun ourselves. But who knows for how long this state will endure. So in the description below you can find some links to some of my sources and a very interesting video about Germany for English speakers. Have a great day. Macht's gut, Kameraden.